Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us. On Monday, Parliament's Trade and Tourism Committee launched an investigation into the 5.9 billion Uganda shillings spent by government on the ongoing Dubai Expo. The committee that day heard from the Uganda Tourism Board, which was first to account for over 360 million Uganda shillings allocated to them. Today we have Francis Mwijukye, Member of Parliament, Buhweju County. We also have Farouk Busuulwa, a board member for Buganda Heritage, and also the Tourism Board to magnify this conversation. The Dubai Expo. Farouk, talk to us about what took center stage in Dubai.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. Yes, Dubai Expo again. I have been doing exhibitions for the last 13 years.
Indeed.
And I happened to go for the roadshow part. We went a little bit after the main event, after what you saw out on TV. But we did a very good roadshow in Dubai, meeting about 80 tour operators.
I see.
By the way, what is a roadshow? Every destination that we go to all over the world, we have different tour operators who bring business to Africa, to our countries. So Uganda right now has the Avia reps, who are the marketing firm promoting it in the Middle East, in Germany, in the USA. So Avia reps had to organize different business players, and they came to meet Ugandan business tour operators, trying to entice them to come and bring over customers to Uganda. We had
potential investors.
We had to, no, not investors, tour operators. You know, we were trying to penetrate the Arabian market. First of all, our product has not been on market there. The Arabs would need more of the city tours. Take an example, Uganda has a very rich culture. So it so happened that, and they don't want to drive a long distance, like all along we've been promoting our national parks. And it was really interesting that they loved more the culture, the city, the people. So yeah, we got 80 players, we met them in Dubai. And
tour operators. 80
tour operators. We had meetings. Uganda had 10 DMCs who went, met with the 80 guys who are potential business, bringing over clients over the years. And then the next day we went to Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is another interesting part of UAE. We also got some DMCs there. We talked about business, and they're already interested in the country. So we hope that the downward trend, don't forget that 2019 we were up there just before COVID. But then after we were hit, business went completely down. So we hope that after this engagement we shall do better. We will be the first country to hit the Dubai market.
Well, Mwijukye is here, and now the contestation is that Parliament is investigating how much money was used during this venture. What prompted the investigations, Honourable?
Well, members of Parliament are people's representatives. We act for and on behalf of the people of Uganda.
Indeed.
And therefore, but we have different committees in Parliament. These committees also act on behalf of Parliament. And therefore, the sector we are talking about falls in the Trade and Tourism Committee. But away from just the sector and away from just the committee,
yes, Honourable,
Ugandans' money is spent in Dubai. So Ugandans are, but was there value for money? Should we have gone for this? What did we benefit as a country? I am just talking as a taxpayer. So this attracts the attention of Parliament, attracts the attention of members, attracts the attention of the public. They say, we have seen, we have seen what was showcased in Dubai.
Busuulwa will explain.
Does this portray what Uganda is? What of this would excite anybody to come to Uganda? We looked at the budget, and you say 80% is spent on welfare, per diem, and transport.
Their stay.
And less than 50 million is spent on what you're going to showcase.
You're telling us out of the 5.9 billion Uganda shillings, only 50 million.
What you have gone to show,
Only
what you're
50 million.
showing. Say, hey, so this is what you're showing, bags, kanzu, Lato milk. How, you know? So you're saying, why don't we spend more on what people should come and do in Uganda? What is different? Why should people come to Uganda and not Rwanda, and not Kenya? For me, as a Ugandan, that is what I expect. That you see from this trade show, from this international engagement, we think the best destination is Uganda because of what has been showcased. So, from the, even before you got technical, we think our people did not do a good job to represent Uganda. Two, you look at somebody says this bag is 100,000. You say, but this bag is 100,000. How did it, how did you as an agency even purchase this? You know, so you go into details and find that there was no value for money. That if the mission was to portray Uganda as the destination for all tourists in that part of the country, we have lost on that. So we have nothing here against the agency. We are all Ugandans. We would want Uganda to be there. But we are only saying, are we doing the right thing? How should we do it?
Mr. Busuulwa, out of the 5.9 billion Uganda shillings, yes, only 50 million Uganda shillings went to the actual operations at the Expo. You did receive 360 million Uganda shillings, the Uganda Tourism Board. You've accounted for this money. Largely, how did you use it? How did the items to be exhibited be chosen? Was it Ministry of Tourism in charge? Was it UTB in charge? Please clarify.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Busuulwa.
Actually, the points raised are really out there. When he pointed out that we received only 50 million, I can't answer that because I'm part of the private sector. We expected to have UTB here, and I hope the next show, Madam Leary will be with us here. But again, as I told you, the private sector joined when the main event, after the president left Dubai. So we did not go for the expo, but we did the roadshow. We did.
But you are a member of the tourism board.
Yes.
Aren't you?
Not UTB. I'm a member of Buganda Heritage and Tourism Board.
I see.
And a private businessman running a different company altogether. Right. But again, I mean, when it comes to the benefit of Ugandans, we have this show, the Dubai Expo, going on until March. Error might have been at a certain level, and there is room for correction. We've been engaging UTB as much as we can to make sure that we can have the very best going forward. Then when it comes to value for money, I cannot personally tell you that this amount of money was spent, but if we put it in the right direction, calling in the agents from Dubai, I'm sure we would get the numbers. Avia reps have been doing a good job regarding, you know, we have what we call new markets. That is UAE, China. The Middle East has not been coming to Africa so much. So having a big company marketing us, if money is put out rightly, I think we can do well. Is there any significance of this export to the country? Yes. How so? Already, the agents who went, the Ugandan partners who went to Dubai, are getting some very good bookings, and we hope that big groups will be coming to Uganda soon. Don't forget that UAE travel in big numbers. Europeans travel in small groups, 2, 4 at most. Then the Arabs tend to come in big groups. So we hope that in the near future, if we market well and correct the errors that might have been before, I think we shall get some good business. About the 5.9 billion Uganda shillings to be investigated, Honorable Mwijukye, where does this leave the country in terms of transparency and also development?
You see, like I said, members of parliament do appropriation. They'll give you money to go and do work for the country. As a ministry, as an agency, as a department, they'll give you money. They do appropriation. But they again have that role of oversight. Because it's them who know how much they gave you anyway. The public will not know. They can know through their members of parliament. So, when we do this, we don't do it because we are anti any agency, we are against them. We are not saying you should have done this better. This is how things should go. So, looking at the budget itself, we said, okay, you got this money. How did you spend it? And then you start looking at, okay, per diem for every person who went is this. Transport is this. Hotel money is this. What was spent on the showcasing, which I was talking about, is then say, but we think there was a problem. This should have been done better. And I hope that the tourism board realizes that we are acting in good faith. But two, and what is really more important is who actually supplied you these bags? Was there public procurement? Was it forward? So then you convince us that you see on the market such a bag which is 15,000, for you in the budget it is 100,000. How did it come to this? How? You should have looked at those bags they're talking about. You should have looked at those councils. Why should you spend 7 million on transporting items that are not worth 7 million?
Indeed.
You know? How many kilograms of councils, you know, do you expend for 7 million? It is something that any right-thinking Ugandan can appreciate.
There was corruption in there.
We don't want to conclude because it's an investigation. I don't want to conclude here and say there was. I'm only saying we are interrogating the process. So, then you make Ugandans believe that this is a venture that we should go for as a country. You say we brought private entities on board, and so money was spent on them. When we interact with them, they say, no, we spent our own money to go.
I see.
With people in you find a hotel, I don't want to mention names here for purposes of the ongoing process. But you say, someone says, you know, we spent on such a hotel, on such a private agency. They say, no, we spent our own money. So who is telling the truth? And that's why we need to look at these agencies, private and government, and then we come up with a report as a parliament now to say we think this next time this should be done better.
React to Honorable Mwijukye's submission when he says that some private entities were using their own money. In your respect, is this true? Were you using your own money for this expo?
It is true. We were using our own money on the expo.
How so?
But
what was the original arrangement?
UTB, through the Avia reps, organized, they brought all the agents, the tour operators that met with Ugandans. We had dinners with them. But regarding accommodation, air tickets, it wasn't part of the UTB expenditure.
Do you think with them not availing these funds to help you with these other machinations, we actually exhausted all the 5.9 billion Ugandan shillings? When you talk about corruption, do you actually see it and smell it, that indeed this money was swindled and not put to good use?
Well,
with what we showcased there and the money being fronted, the figure 5.9 billion shillings, do you see a complete reflection of the money in the items that were presented?
Well, the challenge is, as tour operators, we did not go to the main expo. We did the roadshow.
You did a roadshow.
So the roadshow was not part of the main event.
For you, it was just to attract tour operators.
Our aim was to attract tour operators. So giving a fair judgment on what happened at the stand, at the booth, might not be very good from my side. But I would talk about the two events we did. That was in Dubai at 4 Points, and then in Abu Dhabi.
Go ahead.
There we really got value for our money. But when it comes to the main event, what we saw on TV, I think I'm really very interested following up with this matter. And as tour operators and hoteliers, I think because with marketing, the more money we put in, the more the numbers. So if we play our cards right and we invest more in what we present, what we showcase, trust me, our destination would make it. So if what Honorable is putting forward, that only 50 million was used, if it is true, then we have a challenge.
But are you satisfied with what was presented? Do you think the items that were presented did go a long way in marketing Uganda as a destination for such tour operators coming in and other investors taking center stage in our country? Were you satisfied?
At the roadshow, yes, it was well organized.
At the main event?
At the main event, as I told you, we are at the closure of this expo. Now, tour operators will be involved. At the beginning, as MPs went and as the video circulated, we were not there. We only went after the president left Dubai and came back to Uganda. That is when private sector joined.
Where does the Dubai Expo leave the country's tourism image, in your opinion?
If we correct all the errors going forward and we showcase Uganda very well, trust me, our tourism numbers will be good. Because so many potential customers are coming in, frequenting the stall. Take an example. Uganda's culture, centrally located, right close to the city. If we presented that, what we have already, Kasuri Tombs has been voted as one of the best heritage sites.
Indeed.
If we presented that, put up the virtual bit, sell it to the world, we would get very good numbers. I've been to countries like Lisbon where they get about $7 billion annually, and all they get it from is culture. We have it right close to the CBD. So if we correct the errors, we have a big potential.
I still do have Honorable Francis Mwijukye. He is the MP for Buhweju County, and also Farouk Busuulwa. He is a board member for Buganda Heritage and Tourism Board. We're talking about the Dubai Expo. 5.9 billion shillings was earmarked for the activities that are taking center stage in Dubai during this expo. The tour operator within our midst, Farouk Busuulwa, he actually tells us that none of this money was spent on him because they were largely facilitating themselves. But Honorable Mwijukye is telling me that 68 to 69 million Uganda shillings was actually earmarked to actually bankroll the activities of the tour operators within the Dubai Expo.
Of the roadshow?
The roadshow, as they were actually wooing some tour operators from these Arab countries. But then largely corruption took center stage. Parliament has also been investigating some funds that have been unused yet borrowed for other projects in that regard. So why do they continue doling out this money in the wake of the money not being used? Is it a weakness on the part of Parliament? Honorable Mwijukye, is it a weakness?
Well, I think as Parliament we need to do something about it. We can't continue allowing government to borrow and then we don't follow up and say, we gave this money.
It did this.
What have you, like we are saying, we gave you money for the expo, how did you spend it? So even with loans, and now I speak as a shadow minister for trade, tourism and industry. We really believe that there is a lot of money that the government has allocated the different agencies. There is many loans that the country has taken up, and you don't see what this money has done. And I don't think we should continue allowing the country to borrow on behalf of Ugandans, and then the money is not put to use, and yet it is generating interest.
Indeed.
But too, if we are interested really on attracting tourists, because we know how much money we can get out of this, then we must be very smart. Just yesterday in Parliament we were talking about how visitors, people entering Uganda, are being harassed at the airport, Entebbe International Airport, that you have to spend 24 hours waiting to get your COVID-19 results. 24 hours, you're just waiting.
Indeed.
That you have to go through private testing companies like Test and Fry. Then you say, but who owns Test and Fry? Who owns it?
Didn't the government take over the testing?
And actually it has now worsened. After government taking over, what was 4 hours goes 24. You saw people sleeping in chairs.
Indeed.
So why would anybody you have just interested in Dubai to come to Uganda continue coming after an experience through NTV?
So it's a double standard. We are in Dubai wooing these two operators to come to our country, but when they come to NTV,
but when they,
we put in place measures
what
that
do they
make
go
it
through?
a living nightmare for them.
So this explains the reality that we are not just dancing double standards. We are not being true to ourselves as a country.
Indeed.
So, whereas I really, as a Ugandan, as a leader, I would support an expo. I would support showcasing our heritage, our best, attract the international community, visitors come to this country. I am interested in how the money, the taxpayers' money is spent. I am interested. And that's why I come up to say we think there were very many gaps, and these gaps must really be, we must, as a country, do things better.
Indeed.
Going back to the role of Parliament, if I give you money and I don't follow up, then I have a problem. Because Ugandans are looking up to us as leaders. Ugandans are looking up to us as members of Parliament. So when we commit them and we don't follow up, I think then you're right to say, members of Parliament, don't you think there's a problem? So I agree with you, there's a problem, and we need to fix it.
Indeed.
Not just as a country, but as members of Parliament.
Busuulwa, to our operators, even before this expo were actually crying, there were 90% cancellations of the bookings by the tourists who wanted to come to this country, mainly because we wanted to charge $65 for the COVID-19 tests. Then later on, it was revised up to 30, but then still the tourists were adamant to come off-lock this country. And then we go to Dubai to woo the same tour operators to bring in more tourists to Uganda. Like he says, do you also concur that this is a double standard? You actually wooing tour operators to come to your country, and then you're making it hard for them to enter. You do have Kenya. If you have actually gotten vaccinated, tested 72 hours before, you don't really need to get tested when you make touchdown within Kenya. But here in Uganda, even though irrespective of the fact that you've been vaccinated, you've gotten your COVID-19 tests, you will still have to get tested at NTV there, spending more than 24 hours in those queues. Don't you think all this
maybe before he comes
is a double standard?
Maybe before he comes in, we have traveled. You don't need 24 hours to get your test results. You can get results in 20 minutes.
In a nutshell, Busuulwa, meaning our challenges have nothing to do with the Dubai Expo. We are shooting ourselves in the leg. Would you believe this to be true?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, let us look at what transpires elsewhere in the world. Today, if you're fully vaccinated, going even to the first world countries, all you need is a negative PCR taken from your country. The moment you get there, you will enter. That is the UK, the USA, Germany, anywhere else.
Countries.
Even some airlines have gone ahead of not asking for PCR tests. Take an example, Turkish Airlines. You will fly with Turkish without a PCR. But now, our neighbors, let's come to the region. Kenya, if you're fully vaccinated, you have a negative PCR test, you will come into the country. So Uganda coming in, charging clients entering the country is wrong. First of all, as private sector, we've been trying to lobby as much as we can to make the policymakers understand that we should embrace vaccination.
I see.
There is no reason why we should tell people to vaccinate when we don't trust their certificates. Two, if somebody has taken a negative PCR from his country of embarkment, I don't see any logical reason as to why we shouldn't trust it at the airport.
Unless they faked that PCR test.
But then if Europe trusts Uganda certificates, because if I have a negative PCR from Test and Fly, I'll enter the UK. I'll enter the USA and all European countries. Then how come that we don't trust their system? I think we have a gap there. The earlier we realize that there is error and scrap off testing upon arrival, the better for our destination. We already hit very hard business-wise. So adding on that era of charging and forcefully testing. Come to Dubai. We all went to Dubai.
Indeed.
It took us less than 20 minutes to test. It was free. They did not charge us a cent. We went on for our business, and within 5 hours, everybody has had their result on phone. So if we must test, as private sector, our opinion would be, it should be free, completely free, if we must test, and then let guests continue. The beauty is every tourist coming into the country has filled in a locator form, so he's working with the tour operator. In case there is any challenge along the way, they could coordinate, like the way it's done in Dubai or other countries, and make that person isolate. So I think the earlier we realize that, the better for our destination.
Besides the challenges we've just stated, issues to do with testing at Entebbe and so forth, the fact that we didn't actually put to good use this money, what else needs to be done to market the image of this country to the outside world so that we boost tourism locally here in Uganda?
Thank you very much. Marketing Uganda is my job.
All right.
I've traveled all over the world.
What kind of help do you need as a tour operator?
I think, considering the figures Honorable Mwijukye has just said,
Indeed.
Kenya, for example, has a very big museum in the US, the Art Museum. They are running a hall called the Cats of Savo.
All right.
Over 2 million tourists flock that place on a daily. Potential tourists. If we did the same, go to these huge museums all over the world, in the UK, in the US, market Uganda, I think we can do well. Then, the remaining 6 months, the remaining part of, because the expo was 6 months, I think if we borrow a leaf from other destinations and get a proper farm to showcase Uganda more, because true, the stall is manned by manufacturing and so on. But I mean the tourism section, if we make sure that there is every other item of Uganda showcased throughout, I'm sure it would get more numbers, because the fact is the more money invested in marketing, the more the tourists flocking into your country. Gorillas are not known that we have them in Uganda. I've been asked this question all over the world when I talk about gorillas. No, gorillas are in Rwanda. And I'm like, no way, we have more gorillas than Rwanda or Congo. So I mean, if we throw it out to the market, tell them what we have, the people will come and test our products. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Busuulwa, and also Honorable Mwijukye, recommendations on what we need to be doing to position Uganda in a greater state to market herself, so that we woo potential tourists and also investors, if you will.
Well, I think we need to be honest to ourselves. We need to be transparent, and we need to paint the correct picture of what Uganda is. If you're talking about coffee, like it is here,
Inspire Africa Coffee.
Let's go. If you're going to the Arab world, know what then will attract them to Uganda. Is it coffee? Is it Lato milk? Definitely not. What will attract them to Uganda? Is it these baskets? Is it these kanzus? Read the market. Otherwise, if you don't, you will spend a lot of money advertising. It's like you go to the Muslim world to advertise beer. Here, do they take alcohol in the first place? So look at the market, look at the potential visitors, and then come up with, as you showcase, come up with the right attraction. Otherwise, at the end of the day, we'll have spent a lot of money as a country.
Do you also believe that even here at home we need to put the house in order? You've attracted a tourist, but then the road that you're going to be using to show this person around is riddled with potholes. They are not going to love this.
Of course, now
the infrastructure projects.
Actually, the challenge now is starting at the airport. Even before you go to Kidepo, you go to Queen Elizabeth, you go to Buhweju to look, to find bad roads. The picture is being painted, the ugly picture, at the airport, at the international airport, that we saw. It's not about politics. It's not, no, we saw visitors, tourists, sleeping in chairs.
Indeed.
What are they waiting for? test results. So we really want to call upon the ministry, want to call upon the agencies to just do the right thing.
Honorable Francis Mwijukye, MP Buhweju County, and also Mr. Farouk Busuulwa. He is a board member for Uganda Heritage and Tourism Board. Gentlemen, many thanks for having made the time to speak to us. We couldn't talk to UTB, but next time we shall interrogate them on this same subject. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And of course, if you are just watching Morning at NTV, in my midst is this beautiful cap. Yes, it is actually riddled with a lot of magic that will go a long way in helping you resuscitate your creative processes. You have a project that is stalling. Yes, your creative processes have stalled a little bit. Just sip on Inspire Africa coffee. You, in a nutshell, be able to get all the bright ideas that you need to execute that particular